you looking forward to next week?
NWA. Have I got stuff to say about this show? It's been many weeks since we last watched NWA. Thank God David Crockett
Yes?
has returned to the fold.
Yes?
Thank the Lord. Thank the Lord, even if he hadn't been here, he was there when the title change occurred. Because he was outstanding. Why can't they hire this guy today?
That's a great question.
This guy would be the highlight of the announce team today, except for Mauro Ranallo.
Oh, yeah.
Put Mauro on SmackDown and put David Crockett on Raw, and life will be breathed into this dull product.
That would help. That would help.
I can only imagine who his favorites would be.
All the good guys.
I can't imagine David Crockett flipping out for Dolph and his 98th super kick. At least a rock and rolls through their double drop kick that he marks out for once.
Yeah.
How many times can you mark out for the super kick? On the 8th time.
Well, you're Steve Corino a lot.
That's true.
Yeah. They promised footage of a major title change later in the show. Ron Garvin came out for a promo.
This stupid promo. His promos are, first off, his promos are bad, and then he says dumb shit.
And it's confusing.
Like, I know the idea is he's trying to get over that he's a babyface, he's a hard worker, and he's a
blue-collar
common
guy,
man.
yeah.
But he's talking about he's a fucking part-time electrician.
On the side.
What?
When he wrestles for Jim Crockett Promotions, and on the side he installs light bulbs and stuff for extra cash.
I suppose in the Conor McGregor, Nate Diaz build-up, I mean, it was noted that Nate teaches kids jiu-jitsu classes. So I guess that's kind of the same thing. And it did humanize Nate and made him into a likable guy. But there's something about Ron Garvin being a part-time electrician.
Yeah.
It's just like, well, you're a dork. And nothing against electricians. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, how are you a part-time electrician, but you're also chasing Ric Flair around the country? It doesn't even make sense.
Oh. So Ron Garvin squashed Tony Zane very early on, took him to the corner, punched him right in the face. Beating continued for a while, and then Garvin won with the knockout punch, and Zane got zero offense.
And by the way, going back to Garvin, he's still ranting about chasing Ric Flair all over the country. We're 18 months away still from him winning that title.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. How could people have been mad when he won the belt? It should have been like, finally. I can take it off him now, but finally we're done with this fucking storyline.
Tony Schiavone interviewed Paul Jones and Baron Von Raschke.
Hair Paul Jones.
As Baron calls him.
Never not funny.
So Paul Jones...
And he's got hair.
He does. He brought up the mysterious and forgotten 3 tests of strength with the Barbarian.
It's back.
And he explained that the only reason they ever brought this up was so Jimmy Valiant would fall into their trap. They thought the Boogie Woogie Man...
would give a shit.
A, would give a shit. B, would believe he was stronger than the Barbarian. So that didn't work, because Valiant was too gutless to accept, they explained. And as he is ranting, I don't know who in the crowd said what, but Baron Von Raschke begins to storm past the camera to yell at the fans. Funniest visual I've seen in weeks. And they ranted for a while, and they left. We had the Barbarian versus Bill Tab.
With Taijo Khan there.
Joe Khan. I'm looking at your monitor right now. I see you got the link I sent you. Have you watched this yet?
Are you ready to play it?
I'm ready when you are. This has nothing to do with the NWA. This is Taijo Khan's debut in, I believe, Memphis.
Yes. Mark Gullen presents Taijo Khan.
Say, a world traveler. Having spent many years in Singapore and being a fan of blood sport, we left on a hunting trip to the mountains of northern China. There, encountering an early season blizzard, the weak were left behind. The strong climbed up the mountain to find refuge in the
This
only
was
place
awesome.
within hundreds of miles, a monastery high on a mountain peak. And that's where I first met Taijo Khan the Great. Taijo Khan was chosen as a child and trained in the most deadly of all martial arts, Mo Tu Kai Chi, pressure point manipulation.
Morgu
He
Tai
can
Chi.
cause more pain and suffering with the touch of one finger than any man can with a fist, an elbow, or a knee. He
This
is
guy's
perhaps
awesome.
the most cunning and the most dangerous man in the world, and now, under my expert guidance, is the
Expert?
most devastating man to ever set foot in a wrestling ring. We've come to this part of the world to serve notice on all of your pretty boy stars that their time has passed. We begin the reign of Tijo Khan the Great. Pack your bags, Bill Dundee. Get out of town while you still can, Jerry Lawler. Protect that pretty face, Jeff Jarrett. And Billy Travis, we will break you. We begin
Wow.
the reign of Tijo Khan. Many, many men will suffer.
His jacket just fell off.
I'm Mark Goulin of the House of Goulin, and I am aware
Oh,
that there were many
Goulin. I
skeptics
apologize.
among you. Those of you
Mark
who did
Goulin.
not believe when I described the awesome powers of the mighty Tijo Khan.
This fucker always
Many of
outside.
you have witnessed
There's a
the
reason.
total devastation of anyone who has opposed him in the ring. And now, ladies and gentlemen of the wrestling world, I bring you the mighty Tijo Khan the Great.
He just leaped out of the water.
Look at him! What an animal! Ah! He's able to run the 40-yard dash in 3.5 seconds. And you think your football players are fast and tough. Ha! He will pick his teeth with their bones. Ah, the mighty Tijo Khan.
Why was everyone coming out of the water in Memphis?
But, ladies and gentlemen, I have a surprise coming for you. You must remember Kamala. Well,
Oh,
I have found
I
a
sure
man
do.
who will make Kamala pale. This man is totally awesome. I found him on one of my trips to the darkest portions of Africa. I will tell
Afro-
you
I thought it was the
more about him
Himalayas.
later,
Did he change his
but
story?
You will see him in the coming week. Yomamba, the jungle savage.
Oh, there's another guy.
That's another guy. There's many, many more.
Yo, Mamba.
If you have not seen that video, Tijo Khan pops out of whatever lake they're in. He leaps high into the air. He runs onto the bank. He waves his arms and wails and screams. And
Then
then
starts running.
he just starts running
That's so
as
great.
fast as he can. Where is he going?
He's running the 40-yard dash.
I guess
He's not
so.
going anywhere. He's just showing his 40-yard dash prowess, which
Apparently.
is very important in wrestling.
It is in a 20 by 20 foot ring.
It's so awesome.
That's the best.
Did you search for that?
Somebody, when he debuted, when we reviewed the show where he debuted on NWA, they put up a link to it in Memphis, and
I need to learn more about Mark Guyon.
yes, I didn't.
That guy's amazing.
Let's just review old Memphis stuff.
When it gets on the network.
Anyway, Barbarian won with a power slam with a diving headbutt. Shivani interviewed Jimmy Valiant, who explained he had the heebie-jeebies and the goose tatums.
Excuse me?
That's what he said. Not because his wife had run off with his best friend. He said, I'm going to miss him. But because Paulo Jones is putting together an army. Now,
What I loved about this is he's wearing a neon green bandana, a purple shirt, and a leather jacket. And everything you just said, people are laughing at him in the crowd.
oh, yeah. And he says, all-out war between himself and Paul Jones's army. Leo Burke versus George South. Burke was a veteran of the Calgary promotion, doing this appearance here.
Oh my God. Mark I can't even say it anymore.
I
Gilleen?
believe he said Gouline.
Gouline? Mark Gouline? He managed Taijo Khan, Yo Mama, as well as Marty Jannetty and Shawn Michaels.
What?
Yeah. Wow.
Huh.
His character was that of a mad explorer who found his protege, Taijo Khan, in the mountains of northern China, or as it says here, Northerb China, and Yomamba in the darkest portions of Africus.
This is a poorly written Wikipedia page.
Squired the services of the Midnight Rockers for $10,000. No S at the end. Trained at Bill Dundee's wrestling school when he was given a role as a manager. And
Must have
worked
been a
as
great wrestler.
a heel manager in Memphis in late 87 and January 88. That's a long career there. Wow.
Oh, that's spectacular. So Leo Burke gave George South way more offense than usual, which means we got babyface fire George South.
He was great.
He was great with his mullet and his mustache dancing that jig. And then Burke cut him off with a leg lariat and pinned him with a knee drop.
So Leo Burke feuded with Bret Hart forever.
Mm-hmm.
And you could totally see all that young Bret Hart learned from Leo Burke.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of cool, actually.
It was. Shivani interviewed the new national champion, Tully Blanchard and J.J. Dillon.
God, these guys. I say it every damn week, but it deserves to be said every time. Tully is such a great promo. JJ is such a great promo. And the two of them together should go into the Hall of Fame together.
Yeah.
They're so great.
Blanchard spends his entire promo, all he does is talk about how great Dusty Rhodes is, what a great champion he was, how tough he was. First man to ever kick out of the slingshot suplex.
Think about that, by the way.
Of course.
Dusty's got to lose his belt.
Mm-hmm.
And so, of course, he's the first guy
Of course.
to kick out of the dude's finish.
Yeah.
And there's more on that later.
But then, at the end of the day, Tully said he had come out on top. This left Dusty and Baby Doll both at the bottom of the ladder. Now he was targeting Magnum TA. He wanted to get the U.S. title back too. And all I can say to that is, great, unify some of these belts. Pez Whatley versus Art Pritz.
Our favorite jobber, Art Pritz.
They're wrestling. It's awful. Art Pritz is in the low percentiles as the worst among the worst wrestlers I've ever seen. David Crockett then begins to read a letter from a group of junior high school kids. And the message from these kids is not go, Dusty, go. It's not shame on those Russians. Their message was, our math teacher is the best math teacher we've ever had.
Yeah.
And he reads this, and there's a pause, and Tony says, all right.
You know, this match went an hour longer than it needed to.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this is what happened. Maybe I'm just giving him the benefit of the doubt because I'm a nice guy. But it seemed to me that the reason they gave it so much time was solely so that they could talk about Dusty Rhodes more,
Probably.
read a letter, and talk about Tully. And so in order to facilitate that, they told the guys to go out there for fucking 3 hours.
Yeah.
Because there's no other reason that Pez Whatley and Art Pritz need to go as long as this fucking match went.
So Pez won with the running, diving headbutt. Then he cut a promo, which was all about Dusty. Talking how great Dusty was. He was going to fight by his side. Jim Cornette joined Shivani for a promo. Talked about the upcoming Crockett Cup Tag Tournament. Says it's very important that his team, the World Tag Team Champions after all, they should be the number one seed and the top-ranked team going in. This led to the Midnight Express versus Brody Chase and Mike Simani.
You know, when I'm in my 90s or 100s, as I will invariably be, and I'm a legend, and young promoters come to me and they ask for advice for their wrestling promotion, number one piece of advice I'm going to give is don't let anyone wear all white. These fucking jobbers, Brody Chase and Mike Simoni, were wearing all white. One of them was wearing the tighty whities like Bo Dallas wears,
Yeah.
which was hideously unflattering. And the other guy was wearing an all-white singlet.
Mm-hmm.
You could see everything.
Yes.
And you know what? I've said this before. It probably would be better if they were nude. Somehow wearing the all-white is even more disgusting. I don't even know why. Maybe because you can see everything anyway, and they're paler. This was so grotesque. Seth Rollins kind of got away with it at SummerSlam, but at least it was just long tights, and there was a pattern on them. There was a design. This is just pasty white. Oh.
Not a fan?
No.
So the Midnight
I
Express
spit up.
beating these guys up, and they beat him and beat him and beat him, and they're not just out-wrestling them. They're pulling hair, they're pulling the beard, they're raking eyes. There's the beating so bad, they take time to leave the ring to harass the announcers, then go back to the beating. And after several minutes of this, the jobbers make a tag. Eaton offers a handshake. The jobber is hesitant, but he accepts. They shake hands. There's a clean break, and they start wrestling.
Yes. Because the storyline was they're very confident,
Yeah.
which they are.
So the beating continued for a while.
Eaton gave him a neck breaker on the cement. There was the most sickening crack.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Finally, Eaton hits, I believe, a knee drop off the top rope.
yep.
And Condrey goes to finish the man off, and he hooks him in a full Nelson, and he does a leg sweep, and he does the move that The Miz calls the skull-crushing finale.
It was so funny because when he did it, I asked you, what's that move?
Yeah.
Because when he did it,
It looked good.
I couldn't recognize it.
It literally, yes.
I knew I'd seen it before, but never like that.
It is literally unrecognizable from the move The Miz attempts to do.
He literally
does
looked
it,
like he killed this guy.
it looked like a vicious, violent move. When Miz does it, it looks like two dancers clumsily falling down. In other news, Dennis Condrey is better than The Miz. So they won, and they're out there celebrating. They toss the Geeks out of the ring, and they toss the ref out of the ring just because they're dicks. And the Rock and Roll Express came out to attack them. They clear the ring quickly. Then Cornette's left alone in there. He charges with a racket. He takes a horrible backdrop.
Oh my God.
He over-rotates by like 120 degrees.
Now you know why I always use the term ass over tea kettle.
That's what he did.
That's what he took here, an ass over tea kettle bump.
Lands, he may have broken his ass, like Vampiro said. Then he gets to his feet. They hit him with a double drop kick. And the same man who just over-rotated by like a full revolution managed to go over the top rope and not kill himself. Mainly because he was grabbing onto that top rope for all his life.
Dude, this was we rewound this and watched it again. When these rock and rolls hit the ring and they went nuts and they finally got their hands on Jim Cornette, and then they're going for the double drop kick and Crockett is screaming at the top of his lungs because he loves the double drop kick.
Oh, he does.
The double drop kick is his Meltzer driver. They hit the double drop kick and Cornette takes another ass over tea kettle bump over the top to the floor. The fucking place is going crazy. And at the time I thought, I have never seen anything like this. At least not in a long-ass time.
Dude.
Little did I know.
Little did you know. Well, on that note, they showed the finish of the Tully Blanchard-Dusty Rhodes match where Tully won the national championship.
Dude, let me tell you something, everybody. I've been to a lot of UFCs. I've been there for some of the biggest UFC matches of all time. I was there for the July 4th Conor McGregor fight, where when he won, I can't even explain the reaction in that building. This reaction for Dusty Rhodes and Tully Blanchard. If you're a younger fan listening right now, and you've only watched WWE, or you've only watched wrestling from around the world for the last decade or so, you must give them the date of this show again.
Unfortunately, I got the wrong one. I had to go down, but it's close to the date of...
It'd be March 8th or
yeah,
whatever.
Yeah, around March 6th.
30 years ago.
1986, yes.
Go back and watch Dusty versus Tully. You won't even understand it. I don't even understand it. It was the craziest, and it wasn't just for the finish. It was everything that Dusty Rhodes did. Every comeback he did, you said you thought my TV was going to break.
Yes.
I think it may have.
Yeah. First of all, we saw probably close to 10 minutes of this match all in all. This actually went through a break. But the first half of what we saw was Dusty Rhodes lying on the mat as Tully worked his leg.
Oh, my God. Say what you will about Dusty. This man could get everything out of literally nothing.
Yes.
Not even like a little bit. He did nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And when they did the figure four spot, and all he did was roll over,
Oh.
which my infant will do at 3 months.
Yeah.
I could not even believe the reaction.
Grown women jumping up and down and throwing their fists into the air with glee. He rolled the figure four over.
He rolled over. He's spherical. This is easy. But these fans reacted like, I don't know. I can't even think of an analogy.
The crazy thing is, there was like 3 or 4 key points. That was one of them. But with each one, somehow it got louder and louder and louder, which every time seemed impossible. I did in fact think the speakers in your TV would light on fire. I was very concerned about the quality of your electronic equipment, or the safety, I should say, of your electronic equipment. So, let's see if I can get the finish here.
I'll get the finish, because this is very important.
Okay.
First off, Crockett's going nuts.
Actually, before you get to this, I do want to add, Ric Flair was on commentary. And the whole time he's on commentary, he's calling it fair.
Yes.
He's talking about what a great match it is, how great this wrestling is, what a great contest it's been, how tough Dusty Rhodes is, what a great move he did on that chop block, he said. He's calling it right down the line.
So here's the key to this finish. JJ jumps up on the apron, and Dusty grabs him in a sleeper hold. Place goes crazy. So instead of defending his neck, JJ is more concerned with getting a gimmick out of his pocket and throwing it into the ring. He's got brass knucks. And he throws him in the ring to Tully Blanchard. Now, if this were wrestling today, everybody knows what would happen. Tully would put him on, he would punch Dusty, he would pin him. Not what happened here. The gimmick falls into the ring, and then JJ falls down, but he falls inside the ring, so that the referee has to get him out, which makes perfect sense. Tully grabs the gimmick, and he very dramatically puts it on his hand, and he goes, and he swings, and Dusty backdrops him outside, and Tully goes flying. So now, Ric Flair comes over, and Ric Flair helps him adjust the gimmick and put it back on his hand. Tully gets on the apron, he goes to swing a second time, and Dusty ducks. So Tully has now missed twice. And so Dusty gets behind him, and he hoists him up in the air for a big back suplex, and Tully raises his hand high in the air, and he finally waffles him, and Dusty falls down, and Tully Blanchard gets the pin. Because the key is, Dusty Rhodes not only, because he was losing, had to kick out of the guy's move, but he had to make sure that the fans were undoubtedly aware that the man had a gimmick on his hand. And so they put it on over and over and over again before Tully finally hit him with the thing and pinned him. The place goes absolutely crazy. And then, the post-match.
Yeah, the final spot there with the swing and the miss of the object, the back suplex, and the hitting the object and pinning, that's actually the exact same finish that Randy Savage used to beat Tito Santana to win his first IC title just like 6 months before this.
That is true.
So, Tully has won. Dusty is vanquished. Flair hits the ring. Arn hits the ring. Dylan hits the ring. They're just in celebration mode at this point. They have a new national champion in their stable. And they are helping Tully to his feet, giving him his belt. But Baby Doll is incensed. And she goes after Flair, and she's laying his slaps in the corner.
She slaps Dylan,
Well,
and the place goes crazy.
Dylan pulls her off and throws her down, and she pops up and slaps Dylan. And yes, that was one of the other key points where I thought it has been as loud as possible, and then it got louder. So she slaps Dylan. The place goes nuts. The Horsemen tackle her to the ground. They are holding her down, and Flair's going to go up top and come off with a knee, and Lord knows what kind of tragedy will occur. But then here comes the cavalry. And it's Magnum TA, it's the Rock and Roll Express, maybe Sam Houston's in there too. And this was like nothing I have ever seen before.
And Magnum hit the ring.
I have not been to as many UFC shows as you have. But I was there when Cain Velasquez beat Brock Lesnar in front of a lot of Mexicans in Anaheim. And I was at the Superdome when Daniel Bryan won the World Championship. And they pale. They pale in comparison to this crowd and the gentleman coming in to save Baby Doll.
Dude, my little baby cries, and I look at it and I think, how does such a little thing make such a loud noise? I don't think that anymore. These people made a noise I can't even explain, and they made it over and over again, and it kept getting louder.
Yeah.
It peaked when fucking Magnum TA ran in to make the save. I can't even explain the sound that was occurring in that building. It's like it's on another planet. That's the craziest thing ever.
I just figured out why they call it heat. Because it's so loud.
It's like everyone was melting.
Yeah, I'm starting to sweat just talking about it.
God. And then, funniest thing is, at the end, even though they put the gimmick on 3 fucking times to make sure you knew that he had a gimmick that he hit Dusty with, they showed it in the slowest of slow motion you've ever seen. You know they have those new UFC cameras? They're like mega slow, and you see a
Phantom
man
cam or
hit, the
whatever it's
phantom
called.
cam, and
Yeah.
you see it, the fist hit one cheek and then the other cheek goes out and back. This camera was much slower. Because they wanted to make sure you knew that Dusty got hit with a gimmick in order to be pinned.
So for those of you who say, wonder why we always talk about how great wrestling used to be and why it's not that same now, go watch this. This will make it all very, very clear. So they go back to the studio. Dusty and Baby Doll are there. Dusty is screaming. The Horsemen have taken his world title. Now they've taken his national title. They may as well take his clothes too. And he begins to disrobe. And he removes his shirt, and he removes his hat, and he goes to the fly of his jeans, and it snaps to commercial.
Dusty he's going nuts. And all I can think is, you remember my rant earlier about white singlets? He's wearing a white shirt, and it's still repulsive. His boobs are hanging through, and it just looks gross. And I'm fixated on it, and then he took it off. And it's funny because I just saw him wrestling in trunks.
Yeah.
But for some reason, when he was wearing street clothes and he took off his shirt, it was
He
horrifying.
looked more fatter.
Yeah. And then he started taking off his pants.
Yes.
And they cut away. I don't know what was going on here.
He was out of his mind. They had driven him mad. Magnum TA cut a promo. He said he had an open contract. He was waiting for Nikita Koloff to sign. The Road Warriors versus Carl Styles and Bill Mulkey.
That's AJ Styles' dad.
I bet you're lying.
I am lying.
Yeah.
But I'm not lying when I say this was better than Legion of Doom versus the Godwins.
Oh,
that
God,
we saw
yes.
on Raw recently.
Much. And on that note, the Road Warriors here were using Black Sabbath's Iron Man. Obviously, they can't use that on the network. So they got some terrible, generic, I can't even call it rock theme. There's music playing. Why didn't they just plug in the 90s WWF theme for these guys?
It's a good question.
That would have been better. They won with the Doomsday Device in 90 seconds. The Koloffs cut a promo.
Maybe the WWE didn't want you thinking that was their Legion of Doom. Even though this
Totally.
version was 1,000 times better.
Yeah. And
There was no fucking puppet.
And 1,000 times more. Oh, God. 1,000 times more over. The Koloffs cut a promo on the Warriors. They were upset that Paul Ellering was always interfering in their matches. They were looking forward to a series of cage matches they had in great Northwest cities like Spokane, Seattle, and Portland. Said now they would get a fair shot against the Warriors without Ellering sticking his nose in there. And he denied ever seeing any contract with Magnum's name on it. And Nikita held up a pile of letters and cards that said, from fans, that said Magnum didn't have the guts to face him face to face.
Wow. Thank God Ivan went into the Hall of Fame this year because he's great.
The Rock and Roll Express versus Bob Owens and Larry Clark. We had 10 minutes of leg holds, and the Rock and Rolls won with the double drop kick. This sucked.
Literally nothing more to add.
Ric Flair came out for a promo. He did a roll call of champions, noting it was all him and his friends. He did not mention Magnum. He said Dusty Rhodes had no belt and no life. Soon they're going to take his leg, and if Baby Doll got involved, they'd take out her leg too. Called out Ronnie Garvin, talked about partying in Atlanta, called out the Road Warriors, called out the Rock and Rolls, and their fans in their training underwear, he said.
Ric Flair, I don't know if he meant for this to come off as creepy as it did, but he essentially said, for all of you little girls in your training underwear who love the Rock and Roll Express, you should be looking up real men like the Horsemen.
Ric Flair wants all females
What?
Ric Flair wants all females to lust after him.
Huh.
Doesn't mean he would take action on it. Doesn't mean he wouldn't. So he explained that his jacket cost $1,100. This made him happy, and he left. Gorgeous Jimmy Garvin versus Rocky King. Sadly, no sharp-dressed man. That's a tragedy.
At least he had his blue glittered
His blue
jacket.
sequined pants. The pants he wrestled in.
everything.
Like, this would have been a hell of an outfit in 2016. In 1986, it was bewildering. He looked like a star.
You know what's funny? This was what, 86? Mm-hmm. Let me tell you something. I didn't watch this. I was not watching this in 1986. But in 1986, I was working my first job at 11.
Please tell me you had sequin pants.
Brian the Master Magician I did magic shows at kids' birthday parties. And my mom made me a jacket. And it was a blue and red sequined jacket that looked exactly like Garvin's, except one half was blue and the other half was red. I still have it here somewhere. I should show you this thing.
Go get it right now.
I don't know where it is right now.
Go get it right now.
It may still fit.
I also was going to say that.
But when you see this, your mind will be blown. Same year.
Did I mention that Big Wood, after many drinks, decided I'm going to go... all Big Wood ever wears is sleeveless plaid flannel shirts.
Yes.
But at one point he decided I'm going to get the sleeveless plaid flannel shirt I used to wrestle in. And I'm going to put that on. See if it still fits. It does, but I wrestled Big Wood a lot of times in this sleeveless plaid flannel shirt. I never noticed his belly hanging out the bottom the way it does now.
Oh,
That's new.
man.
Yeah. Anyway, so Garvin beats up Rocky King. In the process, he's calling out Wahoo McDaniel, and finally puts him away with a brain buster. And it's not a particularly outstanding squash match. It's fine. But Crockett notes this man's calling out Wahoo McDaniel. Wahoo's going to chop his head off. They go to break, and they come back, and Garvin had not made much of an impact in his match, but he had a second chance here in this promo. And he delivered. He explained he wanted to make a big impact in the NWA. That meant beating the biggest legend in the company on TV. That meant beating Wahoo McDaniel, who he called supposedly the best Indian in wrestling.
Supposedly.
That's what he said. He confirmed with Precious that Wahoo was in fact the oldest and ugliest Indian in wrestling. Garvin and Precious, by the way, making out constantly. Tremendous act. So Garvin says he's the prettiest man in wrestling, and he wants to give the people a great match, but he can't because Wahoo is a coward. This was phenomenal.
You know what's funny is I was watching it and I thought, this Garvin's very wacky, and it's kind of funny to me. He's entertaining. Seems like just a friendly chap. Turns out that's the story.
Pretty much.
Garvin and Precious were married before I was born.
Yeah.
1972. They survived all those years in wrestling.
Yeah.
They're still married today.
Yes.
Jimmy Garvin apparently decided at some point, I will retire at 40. I will get my pilot's license, and I'm going to live on a golf course.
Uh-huh.
He did all those things.
Yes.
And he's doing great.
He is the ultimate wrestling success story.
It is. This is a wonderful story.
There are two couples I can think of. Couples in wrestling have a bad history of lasting. There are two I can think of that made it. Jimmy Garvin and Precious, and Tommy Dreamer and Beulah.
That's right.
Yeah. But yes.
A wonderful story
From
this is.
start to finish, got most of his health.
Yeah.
Doing great. Everyone should aspire to be Jimmy Garvin.
Actually, yeah.
Yeah. No one should aspire to be Black Bart or Dr. X.
Oh.
Here's everything I wrote about this match. Dr. X sure did suck.
You wrote too much.
I went to the bathroom. Bart won with a terrible leg drop.
My entire notes read, hideous rope walk, leg drop, finish.
The Road Warriors got a promo vowing to win the Crockett Cup. They called it the Russians. They called it the Midnight Express. They called out Ric Flair. Hawk noted the women liked his tongue more than they liked Flair's suits. Wow.
Well.
I see. And I will, for the record, the women in the crowd seem to agree. Magnum returned for another promo. This time he was not cool and collected. He was pissed, screaming that he's sick of all this talking, sick of the Russians dodging him. He wants a match with Nikita on TV. He will put his title on the line. He will give up his share of the purse. He just wants this match. Baron Von Raschke versus Mike Jackson.
Your favorite wrestler strikes back.
Mike Jackson is tiny, gray-haired, and balding. But unlike Baron, he looked like he had lifted a weight in his life. I will say that Baron Von Raschke in this match, he did something like a whizzer, but it was a cool amateur-style throw. I believe it's the first cool thing I've ever seen him do. Otherwise, a bunch of lame stomps and knees, and he won with the claw.
This Mike Jackson fella, I guess he was a teacher, and so he did jobs.
He looked like a teacher.
Yeah, he did jobs, and he brought in guys to do jobs, and another success story. He stayed in the business for a long, long time. He was wrestling until a few years ago. They did claim he was 5'10 and 222, which was bullshit, unless Baron was 6'3 and 300 pounds. I don't think he was. I want to read this here from the Observer, May 9, 2009. Carl Stern noted to us about a riot at a Southeastern wrestling show last night. There were more than 250 fans at the show, and during the Mike Jackson retirement ceremony, he was attacked by heels and the place came unglued. A woman reported a man pulled a knife on her and her husband. Before police could squelch the problem, an elderly man went to his vehicle and came back into the arena with an axe to attack the heels. Police confiscated the axe before he attacked the heels. I love how Dave wrote that. During all this, a woman actually called 911 to request an ambulance for Mike Jackson because of the heel beatdown. God.
We got to move.
That's happened in this business.
That was not long
That was
ago.
2008. 2009. Jesus.
Dylan and Blanchard return for another promo. Dylan says, I got a call from two legendary wrestling journalists, Bill Apter and George Napolitano. And they called me, Bill Apter called me and said, Dylan, that Dusty Rose Tully Blanchard match, one of the best matches I ever saw. And he hung up the phone, and then Napolitano called and said the same thing, one of the best matches I ever saw.
Hey, join the club.
And Dylan says, I'm here to tell you these men are wrestling experts, but they are wrong. It was the best match of all time.
I love these guys.
They are the best. They promised to be a fighting champion. They'd be on TV all the time defending this belt, but Dusty Rhodes is not going to get another title shot. Why? Because he didn't deserve it. And they're ranting about Baby Doll and championships, and suddenly Tony screams, "See you next week!" and the credits rolled.
So great.
Just missed their cue entirely.
I love this show.
Yes.
I do love this show. This was a good one. This was a